What is up, YouTubers? Welcome back. I always tend to start these videos with an apology for the absence, but the weather's just not been very good. Last week I had a nightmare with my audio. I didn't realise, for some reason I lost a lot of it, which made editing quite hard. But anyway, this week, and I know before we start again, I always bang on about eliminating skies if you can, because they're quite distracting. And for some reason I got drawn to this scene here, and I just like the shape of the tree. This sort of oak tree that sort of leans in, it sort of curls around a little bit, and I'm putting him on the right, straight up, top to bottom, cutting the foreground off. I'm shooting this. I'm shooting in 16:9, around 80 to 90. No, more like 90 mil. And I'm pointing up. I have got some sky in my shot. And the intention here is, and with this video, is because it's quite flat. Quite a dull, boring day, morning. What I think I will do, what I want to do, is sort of break the rules a little bit with post-processing. So yeah, I'm shooting with that in mind. I'm thinking maybe I could brighten the sky up and make the image glow a little bit. And by using the sky will help me sort of tell that story. So these images in this video are going to be, let's say, heavily processed, but I'm going to do what I want to do with it. I'm not going to follow the eye is what I see rule, which I do normally follow. Let's get creative. Yeah, so that's why I picked this shot. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we can do with these images, and it would be good for you just to see the difference, what Photoshop can do. And I will put side by side so you can see the raw image and what I end up doing with it. I can already see the comments. You shouldn't be doing that. But look, if Tom Eaton can do it, anyone can do it. Right, let's crack on. Let's see if we can find something else to manipulate. So I think there is a shot here, and as you can see from this little bit of B-roll, there is just the aftermath of two storms we've had here in the UK, sort of over a week ago now. We had like 2 weeks of storms, which is one of the reasons why I haven't been out so much. Or you'll probably find a lot of other photographers on Instagram or YouTubers that you may follow haven't been out putting videos out neither, and it's just because it's been so windy. I think we had sort of 80-mile-an-hour winds here in Wiltshire. And this ancient woods is obviously prone to limbs falling off anyway. You chuck an 80-mile-an-hour wind in there and it's absolute carnage, and the devastation is just everywhere to see here in the woods, especially this scene I'm looking at now. I'm sort of torn whether to include some of the tree that's laid on the ground as to add to the story, or whether to cut it off completely. But I think there is an image here. I just need to move around to the right slightly. There's like two trees, a main tree with like a three sort of limbs coming off, and a tree that V's off from the right, and it comes across the scene. I want to close the gap in between the middle. So by coming round to the right slightly, hopefully I'll be able to do that. So let's move over to the right and just see if I can frame it up slightly better than I've got now. decided to shoot back up in my first position. I went down there, I'll show some video now. Yes, I can close the gap up, but I lose a bit of elevation by coming up here, gain elevation, so I can shoot up, include some more of the tree at the top. So what I intend on doing is getting Nicky nice and high, so I can include some foreground, eliminate the sky, and I'll come to the right as far as I can. Yep. The trouble I have is lots of trees and bushes that are in the way. I have to shoot through. So by coming up, which does limit to where I can stand. Really, if I want to go to the right, I wanted to stay in this elevated position, but I can't because of these newer trees here sort of block my view. I can't shoot through them. So we're using the long lens again. I love this long lens, and I have recently debated possibly switching back to Nikon. I think it's just a bit of FOMO with a new lens lineup. But anyway, that's another story. Let's get this image set up, and I'll talk to you about why and how and what's drew me to this shot. So out of nowhere, the sun's come up. Well, it's been up for ages, but it's broken through the clouds. My initial thought was, oh no, I've missed it. I've missed that sort of moody drama that I want to bring to this image, but it is actually quite nice. It's adding sort of layers and shadows and highlights in certain areas. Which does make it more tricky actually now, because now I'm trying to balance the image. As before it was very flat, I knew exactly what was going on. And with the theme of having artistic license in this video and these images, I kind of knew what I could do. But it's gone flat again now. So I'm around f13, half a second, ISO 50. Focused in the middle tree. F13 is going to all that sort of band of oaks that I'm shooting, and devastation will be in focus. Now the reason I'm using such a small aperture is my thing. I tend to like things sharp, and then I either look for atmosphere, or I will add atmosphere sometimes, or enhance atmosphere to create them layers. I don't tend to like out of focus areas. Like specifically in this image, it wouldn't work because I want the carnage in the front sharp and the tree sharp. And if I was to blur the carnage out, it just wouldn't. I don't think it would look right. So I'm trying to shoot middle to left, just to try and retain some detail. I don't want this image to be bright. I want it to be dark and grungy. Yeah. I'll give you a quick show behind the camera, just so you can see exactly what I'm thinking in my head. So here you go, it's gone very flat again, so it's perfect for my initial thoughts was. Here you can see my settings, if anyone wants to know, and here's my histogram. It's just to the left of middle in these flat conditions. If I can just go and get rid of that a minute. I want a clear screen. There we go. So you can kind of see, I hope you can see what what I'm seeing. Maybe you can't. But yeah, this is the deadfall, and I've chose to include some to help tell the story of this shot. Excuse the car, we are next to the avenue through the woods. This is a tree I got drawn to initially, and you can see it's like an open area. It's a bit light in behind here, and you can see these trees in the distance that are catching the bit of morning light, especially when the sun made an appearance a minute ago. You could really see it. Actually, I could probably show you. There you go. See, that's the fleeting light we've had, which is quite nice. You know, you can see the difference, how they add a bit of dimension. Obviously, you can see that in the distance there, where that's quite far away, the light's hitting, and that trees we just talked about. Which again, it is quite nice actually, because it leaves this areas in shadow. It's just not the shot I was looking for. I was looking for an image more like this, that I know I can play with, a sort of real blank canvas. I can make nice dark and grungy and add some atmosphere in here, some light coming through maybe, with some clever dodging and burning. I could potentially sorry, my screen went dead, enhance, or basically do whatever I wanted, but with the initial intentions of telling the story of the carnage of the woods. I do appreciate it's a very messy scene, but with the plans I have for it, I think it may work. Famous last words. So I've always wanted to get an image of this moss. I believe it's called juniper haircap moss. I'll put it up on the screen, and an image so you can see that I'm not lying. Yeah, juniper haircap moss. And it grows in the UK. I'm not entirely sure if it is a UK species. Again, I'll look that up and I'll let you know. But it's everywhere in the woods here anyway, and I always fancy taking a close-up, which springs up all kinds of problems, shall we say, with depth of field. Like I've said, I'm about 600 mil, 60 centimeters away from the moss, and I'm zooming right out at 200 mil. I'm trying to shoot f/16 to try and get as much in focus as I can, and it's still not in focus around the corners. And I think a lot of it is to do with the characteristics of the lens. This version 1 of the GM 2.8 lens to 70-200 is not particularly, it's not overly sharp lens, if I'm honest, for the price. It's kind of one of the reasons why I was maybe considering switching back to Nikon, because their glass looks gets rave reviews. But anyway, again, that aside, I'm having to focus stack, which if you're into macro photography, focus stacking is just a part of it. It's not something that I practice very often because I don't tend to take these real close-up shots, but it is very hard to pinpoint focus and around the frame when it's quite dark and gloomy. You shoot an f/16, so your aperture is very small. Your shutter speeds are fairly high, around 3 seconds, which isn't a problem for movement. But everything is quite dark and gloomy. So what I'm tending to do is open up my aperture focus in the middle in f16, focus in the four corners, and just try and get the depth that I need. And then in Photoshop I'll stack them together as layers. But yeah, it just caught my eye. I've seen some other patches previously in the woods, and I was looking for a patch that was big enough that I could fill the entire frame. So what I intend on doing with this image is, because I'm obviously nice and close, I've got them real rich greens, I have used Kase polarizer as well, I forgot to mention that. Just to help enrich some greens, cut a little bit of glare, because I don't want the eye to sort of get distracted by too much glare. I want your eye to sort of look in and around the frame, and go down in past the tops of these little mosses. So I want the eye to sort of sink down into the image rather than travel through. These sort of close-up images, you're trying to get the eye to sort of sink down in it or travel around. So you must have seen images like this everywhere, but with the deep blacks, that will help create that sort of depth that I want. I want to make the shadows dark so that it really makes the moss pop. I hope that I explained that well. I hope you'll kind of get what I'm thinking of when you see the image at the end of the video. But yeah, it's an image that I wanted to get for a while, whether that have been other sort of foliage, leaves, bigger leaves. Trying to find something that's clean and tidy in a slightly bigger foliage or bigger scene is quite hard. Whereas when you're shooting something like this, if you can get a big enough patch of it, when you're shooting in almost sort of macro, it does help. It does help sort that problem out of cleaning and keeping things tidy. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed getting out today. It's the calmest day even from last week. I did film a vlog then. I don't know if I'm particularly happy with it, if I'm honest. I think I'm probably going to end up scrapping it. So if you haven't seen a video last week, then I have scrapped it. This is a much better image. I'm getting excited again. I just needed. Last week was just a bit of a bump in the road. I was a bit rushed. Conditions weren't great. I did get some nice images though, but the video was a problem with, like I said, with the audio and blah blah blah. So these images, maybe not so much this one. This is more of a traditional shot, and I'll edit this by just bringing out the raw file pretty much. The other ones will follow the theme of the video, which is unlimited. I don't want to go too much into the conversation that everyone has between a raw file and whether it's our job to bring what's in that raw file out as the best representation of the scene we saw, or whether some people believe, we're artists at the end of the day, which other people would think you're an artist, not a photographer. It's just, I can't really be bothered to get involved in all that. I do what I want to do, depending on the time, the way I feel at that time. This morning I feel like the conditions ain't there, so why not have a bit of fun? I'm letting you guys know. So I'm telling no lies. I'm telling no fibs, man. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the images. I'm not going to show the post-processing. I have to hold some mystery back. But I know I've said previously, there's things that snowball with workloads and things. I haven't done any post-processing videos, and I do intend on doing something with that in the future. But I don't want to mix the two on this channel, particularly. I want to keep them separate. So if you are interested in post-processing videos and how we can implement that, please comment down below and let me know. Because I do want to do them. It's just, and I have filmed some. It's just working the best way of working it in to keep everybody happy. And at the end of the day, progressing me and my career as a photographer, I have to think about that as well. So yeah, write down in the comments below what you think I should do with that, and let me know what you think of my images. And I'll see you next week with a regular video. Have a good Sunday. Ciao. Bye for now.